And time now for Media Watch, and for that I'm joined by the ever-charming James Creedon. Hello, James.
Thanks very much, Annette. Good to see you.
Now we're going to start with the beginning of the political season in France. It's not only the schools that return and universities, people come back from summer holidays, but it's also politicians too.
That's right. It's really the beginning of the political season, the political year, and some headlines that are rather unflattering for Emmanuel Macron as he begins this political year with big reforms such as reform of the Labour Code on the agenda. And we saw that his popularity rating has taken a hit. It's the most radical drop in popularity of any president, I think with the exception of Jacques Chirac. But even there, if you look at the contrast in terms of popularity, it's still, I think, a record. And look how it's been covered overseas in all sorts of blogs and websites, headlines that are almost even more unflattering than the statistics themselves. Macron approval rating crashes twice as fast as Trump's. Meanwhile, the Telegraph in the UK, majority of people in France now dissatisfied with Macron. You have The Economist also saying that Emmanuel Macron finds changes often unpopular. They try to diagnose why this happened. They say, well, first of all, he's dealing with a very new political formation with inexperienced MPs as part of his La République En Marche party. They've made some errors. It's become social media fodder. Maybe that didn't reflect very well on him. Second of all, a vote for Macron was partly a vote against his opponent, so it's not necessarily a very loyal voter base. Marine Le Pen, of course, a lot of people did not want to see her in the Élysée Palace, and the last round was between the two of them. And thirdly and finally, they say he's putting in place unpopular but necessary reforms. This, of course, is The Economist, which would be in favour of the sort of reforms that Emmanuel Macron wants to push through in terms of labour reform. So that's just a quick look at their explanation for that unpopularity. But you can see there the cartoon, which will be the first of a few I will show you, Annette. The cartoon is indicating that it's going to be tough times ahead. This is Macron prepares his back to school. La rentrée in France means back to school, but also back to work, back to everything, end of holidays.
Because France comes to a complete halt during August.
That's right. Minimum 2 weeks people take off, but often 3 to 4. And you can see here pairers, cutting to implements, all sorts of things that you might find in your pencil case, but that Macron will be using perhaps in more metaphorical way to trim away at labour law protections and whatnot. So some people having fun with that. And there's also this rather tasteless cartoon. Some people saying that the people disappointed with the first few months of Macron's presidency. Why are they disappointed? Well, we've had no scooter scandal à la Hollande, even though that wasn't in the first months. And, well, just no scandals generally à la Dominic Strauss-Kahn. Anyway, it was just a tasteless cartoon I said I'd throw in at the end. And finally, before moving on, you have Guillaume Tessé, who is a Twitter star here in France, who blends faces. This is what he does. He crosses different faces. What's happened here? It seems to have disappeared. But there's one with Macron crossed with Kim Kardashian, because the rumour goes that he's spending as much much on his makeup as she is. There was a scandal last week about how much he's spending on makeup. I don't think it's possible he's spending as much as somebody like Kim Kardashian, who would probably have a limitless budget as regards grooming, although maybe less so recently. Anyway, that's another story.
Okay. Now, I mean, this is really interesting because he is, well, he was very much seen during the election campaign as the master of social media. And he certainly may get a boost, might he, from the popularity of his wife, who is generating record sales for glossy magazines, which still exist.
That's right. So I suppose the glamour element is something that the Macrons and his people, their people, will be perhaps counting on, the kind of the star quality, if you like, to maybe cloud or obscure some of the unpopular aspects of the reforms. And, well, Brigitte Macron can only be an asset in that regard, because if you look at a recent copy of Elle magazine, it has record sales. It was her first official interview. It sold over 530,000 copies, which is a 10-year record here in France.
I don't think Elle has ever had a 64-year-old grace its cover.
Well, there you go. And she Brigitte, it kind of feeds into all of this sort of the mystique surrounding, you know, Brigitte Bardot and all of that. Anyway, she's very popular. Speaking of, just a very quick mention, I mentioned Brigitte Bardot, another big star of cinema in France. She's actually passed away, and it's a big story here in France today. Mireille Darc, and she was known for many things. She did many documentaries, for example, but she was chiefly known for this scene. It's from, she was really an icon of cinema, and this is a scene from 1972, Le Grand Blond, avec une chaussure noire. And it was became an iconic scene, Annette, because it developed the idea of the plunging backline. And apparently she herself asked for that. You can see her here with her opposite number on that, and the look of shock on his face. Apparently she herself asked for that to be designed in that way because she felt that, well, her assets were elsewhere. Anyway, that's just literally how it was designed.
I have to say, only a French woman can worry that off.
Iconic moment in any case.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. That's James Creedon with the Day's Media Watch. And that's it for now. I'll be back with another edition. Do stay with us here in the meantime.